tonight. Just 2 games. Actually, 1 game. I mean, does anybody honestly give a flying fuck about Nikola Jokic taking on the New Orleans Pelicans? You'll probably bet it because you want action. But you can't sell me, tonight's the night in which Nikola Jokic is going to win the MVP. Get that shit the hell out of here. We have an actual basketball game with meaning, with weight to it, the final day of March. And absolutely, I want a piece of this game here with Tatum and Giannis. This is the must-watch game. The rest is just bullshit. The rest is Charlie Brown's teacher. The rest is just nonsensical noise. One ear. Be careful, man. Some wax is flying out of here. Jeez. Hey, you know what I want to do? 5 bets in 5 minutes. Just me today. All right. We're not going to subject anybody else to my nonsense. Not today, at least. We're going to hit the clock. We're going to get going. We're going to go actually to Sugar House today or Bet Rivers. It's the same book. That's all you really need to know. Why are we starting here? I'm going to do the first play, as you see, is Giannis under 50.5. Now, the reason why we're on Sugar House is because I went to OddsShopper, our premium tool, and I saw, wow, Giannis at under 50.5 on Bet Rivers is beating the market at a couple of other books. Now, some still have 50.5, but other books are down to 49.5. And we're already getting ahead of that. Caesars has dipped. DK has dipped. BetMGM has dipped. Other books are charging you more for 50.5. As I mentioned, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, it's the same thing. So we're going to start with Giannis. I know he screwed our parlay up yesterday going under the 51.5, even though we got that extra PRA. But this is going to be a battle. And there's going to be a lot of help needed. Giannis may hit the assist prop, but I don't think he hits the rebounds prop against Boston, and I don't think he hits the points prop either. I think you're looking at a guy who's going to pace himself more often than not. All right, next play is going to be under 23.5 points for Jamal Murray. This is a simple play for me. I just don't think Murray is going to be in a position, volume-wise, I think more so than anything else, but I don't like him to get to 24, 25 points tonight. I think he stays low 20s. I think he's a 19 to 20-point night. I don't care what your game logs say. I don't care what you look at throughout. This matchup should lend itself to blowout. And while Murray is going to be a valued member of tonight's victory, I also think that you've got, Gordon, Porter, you've got some other guys here that can take over some scoring, and Jokic is not going to be a major part of, I don't think 15 assists tonight from Jokic is going to be easier for him to score, especially banging around Joe Val. 19 points left.
Welcome to baseball season. This is Stokastic's Live Before Lock show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. This show is produced by Mike Lawrence. You can find him on Twitter at AwesomeYo. And we are joined by arguably the greatest DFS player of all time this morning, Alex Baker. You can find him on Twitter at AwesomeODFS. This show is sponsored by Bet365, which has an absolutely incredible offer for people in 4 specific states. We'll talk about that later. But Alex, how excited are you for opening day?
I'm excited. No, just kidding. So I think this is a great time of year for DFS. I mean, you got NBA about to be playoffs and MLB, so that's just twice as many chances to bank, and that means you're going to win twice as much. So I'm pretty stoked. How about you?
I'm also pretty stoked. Yeah, it starts in over an hour. This is so early to be be playing DFS, but I'm excited to. We haven't had this opportunity during basketball season so much. Alex, what is this new background you've got? It's you used to have like stuff in your back. Now it's just a big blank white canvas in the back. Is this a green screen?
It's literally a blank wall. So I really got to step up my game because I know guys like you and Lofty especially has like a killer background.
I
Ben,
mean, Eric has like the TV. Rinpack has a
oh
TV in his background.
yeah,
Like, I think I'm the worst of the people who are regularly on shows, but I think I've got you beat. Maybe I
I
don't know.
got the
It's
budget
close.
set up right here. So
Nice. Well, let's start with just an overview because we might have some new people. And is there anybody new in the audience? I don't know if there are people that show up just for MLB season, but if you're in chat, let us know if you're new. But Alex, let's go with just a quick overview of how do you play MLB DFS? How do you construct lineups for MLB DFS?
well, I mean, I think that the big difference between MLB and NBA is just the stacking. So generally it's in your best interest to stack up like as many players from a team as you're allowed to by the sites. So that'd be 5 on DraftKings and 4 on FanDuel. And that'll just make sure that like even though no particular team is likely to go off for 10 plus runs like individually, like if you just have a little bit of exposure to a lot of different teams, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna hit that one that has an outlier day.
Okay, and as far as do you do secondary stacks as well, or are you just doing one primary stack and then from there letting it go to some of the best projected players, or do you also try to do like do you do like 5-3 stacks, or do you have any recommendation as far as do you do multiple stacks in one lineup, or do you just focus on one primary stack and that's it?
Yeah, definitely multiple stacks is even better. So I mean, the best kind of lineup construction on both sides is probably 5-3 on DraftKings and 4-4 on FanDuel. So if you're like deviating from those, you better be getting like an advantage in some other way, like having a higher projection, uh, or getting the lineups you couldn't otherwise.
Absolutely. Guys, I forgot to say it. Coming in, please do hit the like button if you have not yet. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Another question, just general question. I think I've heard it said many times in MLB DFS, typically you're more willing to eat the chalk at pitcher, get different with bats. Do you agree with that sentiment that typically you're willing to go, with the field, maybe even sometimes above the field if there's a chalk pitcher who just projects well enough?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, with pitchers, they're out there facing anywhere from 20 to high 20s and batters per game. That's, like 5 or 6 times as many plate appearances as a batter. So what you're going to see is the results from pitchers are a lot more consistent just because there's a greater sample where in 4 at bats, pretty much anything can happen. So that's why it pays to differentiate a little bit with hitters instead of going with just the chalk.
Absolutely. And then one final question, just generally, how many batters are you willing to play against the pitchers in your lineup?
On an 11 game slate like today, like I would probably avoid playing batters versus my pitcher or pitchers on DraftKings just because like it only hurts you really unless I guess like there could be an argument that it's like that combination of players is very low on, but you're really hoping that all 10 players in your lineup go off, and that's a lot less likely if 2 of them are facing each other.
Yep. And let me ask you just one final question because I see it in chat from Draft says, does batting order matter when doing a 5-3 lineup construction?
Yeah, I think batting order is important. It's more important in the like smaller stack, like the 3 in your 5-3. But like I think sometimes people like overemphasize batting order when if like one of the big things is okay, your team gets more walks and hits, and then there's just more at bats for everyone on the team, so that could be a 25 or 50% increase in their projection just from plate appearances alone. So that is like a huge factor where the proximity and batting order to get the like RBIs and runs stacked is also important, but not quite as big a factor.
Yeah. So there's my takeaway is that there's more correlation for batters who are closer to each other in the order, because obviously there's runs and RBR correlation, but there is correlation throughout because you get more at bats if your team is doing well. So that's kind of the takeaway there. Also, before we jump into this game by game, I just got to shout out Jorge Jacome, who just gifted Stochastic YouTube memberships to 50 new members. Jorge,
Nice.
man, just Santa Claus out there. Love it. Love to see it. All right, Alex, let's jump in. We got to go. We've got 11 games here, so we'll go quickly through all of them, starting with Atlanta at Washington is our first game on the slate. We've got Max Fried and Patrick Corbin on the mound. We'll start with the pitchers. Do you have any interest in Max Fried or Patrick Corbin?
Yeah, Max Fried is solid enough. He's relatively inexpensive on DraftKings at 8,100. On FanDuel at 9,800, that's a little bit more pricey. So I'd say he's in the mix on DraftKings. There's a lot of good options today, being these are all the SP1s, but certainly a decent one.
Absolutely. And actually, who was it just said? Oh, Ryan Riedenbaum says home versus away batters get more chances too, because if they are, I mean, depending on who's up at the end of the game, sometimes the home team is not going to get an opportunity to bat in the ninth if they are ahead. Is that something you factor in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the net result is that there's more range of outcomes in away teams. Like they're also projected to do less good per inning. But like the fact that a home team, like when your stat goes off, almost certainly you're going to get 8 innings instead of 9. And that does hurt you compared to having a 9th inning where, you know, that could create even a bigger outlier for the number of runs and fantasy points.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm refreshing my top stack tool just to see exactly how chalky the Braves are. I was imagining they'd be one of the chalkier stacks, and they are second highest. No, they're second in terms of top stack percentage. I'll just let you break it down. Let's go to the Braves. How much interest do you have in a Brave stack today? And do you have any particular batters that you're targeting there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a few factors that are really working for you. You got the fact they're away team. We just mentioned that. And they're facing Patrick Corbin, who he's just not a SP1 caliber player, at least in the past few years. So as a result, Atlanta is projected to have almost 5 runs today. That's second on the board. And their ownership, the second highest as well. But it's not unreasonable. So I think that Atlanta is a great option today.
Okay, so you like stacking up Atlanta. Yeah, it's as good of a Patrick Corbin, maybe the weakest pitcher on the slate, certainly one of the weakest pitchers, I would say, on the slate. So it's a great spot for Atlanta bats. Of course, they're going to get some ownership as a result, but nice spot. How about the Nationals? They only have a 3.2 run implied total. Do you have any interest there?
Nah, probably not, because they're actually the lowest on the board here as far as our stack score. So they look like one of the worst options. So this is a game where the odds are really in Atlanta's favor.
Okay, nice. Anything else that you want to say about this game, or should we move on?
Well, we can. Okay, so with the batters, it looks like the first 5 are all pretty chalky on both sites. More on DraftKings than FanDuel though, so I think that mixing it up, maybe a guy that's standing out as a good play is Michael Harris. He won the Rookie of the Year last year, if I recall correctly. And let's see if he can start off his second year pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just we have this is a new tool towards the end of last year, right? The top batters tool, where we can actually see, you know, how often we have a batter favored to do well relative to their ownership. Very cool new tool. And I see, yeah, Sean Murphy looks like is the highest projected ownership on the slate, but also has a 6% chance of being the top fantasy point scorer at catcher. Looks pretty good. Yeah, we've got, I mean, just sorting by top fantasy, we've got Sean Murphy projecting pretty well. Okay, I have it only on catcher. That is my problem. I was like, why am I not seeing my Braves right now? I was very confused. 1 second. Yeah, we've got Ronald Acuna. Looks like our second highest odds of being the top scorer at his position. Looks very good. Austin Riley is up there. A lot of players that look really good for Atlanta. All right. Anything else that you do want to say about these batters before we move on?
Nope.
All right, then let's move on to the second game of the slate, which is San Francisco at the New York Yankees. We have on the mound here Logan Webb for San Francisco, Garrett Cole for the Yankees. The Giants have a 3-run implied total, Yankees 4.1, at least as of when I updated this just before the show. We'll start with the pitchers. How much interest, if any, do you have in Logan Webb or Garrett Cole?
Well, Garrett Cole is always a great option. He's only 9K on DraftKings, and he's 10.9K on FanDuel, which is more reasonable. But I think one of the things I've been looking at today is the spring training logs, just to see which pitchers have actually been going pretty deep in the spring training games, because they don't change it up too much once the regular season starts. And his last game, he went almost 6 innings with 5 hits, so that would be a total of 23 batters faced. So that's anyway, yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's just like a normal workload. So I feel pretty confident that Garrett Cole could get up to 100 today, where there's certain pitchers on the slate that are very good pitchers, but I'm a little bit more nervous about the pitch counts.
Yeah, and that's opening day. We're going to have most pitchers are going to be on pitch counts, and the prices kind of reflect that. Like, we don't have any pitchers that are over 10,000, which is kind of a rare thing on DraftKings. I'm talking specifically there. We've got Garrett Cole down at 9,000. Do you just like him better because he's likely to pitch? Get a full pitch count, and he's only 9,000.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 9K is already a great price for him. The only thing is there's a lot of good pitchers today. I think he's definitely probably the top option, if not, like the second to top. So I think that you really can't go wrong with Garrett Cole.
Nice. And you said no interest in Logan Webb?
Well, Logan Webb's a good pitcher. The matchup versus the Yankees isn't ideal, but the price kind of reflects that. He's not a great strikeout pitcher. It looks like last year his rate was it was 20%, 21%. So that's nothing that's going to blow you away. And facing a tough team that's a little rough, but he's a very good pitcher. So his xFIP last year was only 3.3. So his ability to limit production is a lot better than his strikeout ability. But on a slate where there's a lot of guys who can do both, he's probably not one of the best options.
Yeah, typically, I mean, you get so many points per strikeout. Like, that's such a big part of how you get fantasy points on both DraftKings and FanDuel, that you kind of need pitchers on an 11-game slate in particular. You need pitchers who have some strikeout upside. I see Larry C was asking any weather issues, and there are none because they moved the San Diego game to late at night. We were looking at some potential weather issues, and then they just moved that to a night game, which is kind of fun that we actually have baseball starting at I guess 1:00 Eastern time, and then go until probably past midnight Eastern. We're going to have baseball all day here, so that is fun. Let's talk about the stacks a little bit. Do you have interest in the Yankees or the Giants today?
Probably it's not the best. Okay, so we got only 41 degrees in New York today. That's definitely not ideal. And then the matchups are tough for both teams. So these aren't great options for the stacks. But yeah, I think this would probably be one of the games to avoid.
MJ Hiding says, first time running Fantasy Cruncher for MLB, and holy smokes, shit takes time for stacks. Can't run at minutes. I think you might have too many restrictions on your settings, because I run stacks very quickly for MLB, just so you know. So if you continue having issues, maybe reach out. You can DM me. We can see maybe you have settings that are slowing you down a little bit in Fantasy Cruncher. Typically not that slow for me. All right. Anything else? Any particular batters that you like from the Yankees today? If you are playing any one-offs, or just in Yankee stacks, who do you like?
I mean, Aaron Judge, he's always a tough fade. He's expensive though, so I probably would fade the whole team, to be honest. But they have a lot of talent, so I can't blame anyone for playing them.
Okay, yeah, Aaron Judge, 8% chance of scoring the most fantasy points on the slate. We've only got him at 3.6% ownership, so it looks like a little bit of positive leverage there. I mean, maybe there's a case to be made for Aaron Judge, but yeah, in general, the Yankees not popping as players who project extremely well in this matchup, and the Giants, I don't see any toward the top of the board there. So a little bit of a tough game to stack. Are you ready to move on to the next game, or anything else you want to say about this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Orioles and Red Sox have one of the higher totals, maybe the highest total on the slate. We've got Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Orioles, Corey Kluber for the Red Sox. Starting with the pitchers, do you have any interest in Kyle Gibson or Corey Kluber?
Well, Corey Kluber, let's see. He's been a guy that he's kind of dropped off in recent years. Last year, he was above average in xFIP at 4, but his strikeout rate was only 20%. So I do see that. This is Fenway. It's a batter's park. The weather's cold, so that mitigates it to some extent. But the over/under here is one of the higher ones for this time of year. So this definitely looks like more of a game to target hitters potentially, more than pitchers.
Okay, well then let's talk about those hitters. Do you have interest in both of these stacks? Should we go over both of them, or is there one that you're targeting?
And the prices are very high on DraftKings on the Orioles, so that takes some of the fun out of stacking them. But on FanDuel, they're really cheap. So I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, so Baltimore, they're actually third on our top stacks as far as the top stack score, and about 7th on the stack score metric here on draft or on FanDuel. They're a little bit better values. So overall, I think the Orioles are a very good option. But the pricing does make it a little bit harder to build a stack lineup around them.
Yeah, as you alluded, we have 7.9% chance for the Orioles to be the top stack on the board, just 2.7% chance to be the top value stack, which kind of shows how expensive they are, even though they have a really good chance of putting up, 8% chance of being the top stack on the board, still just a 2.7% chance of being the top value stack, which is kind of tough to fit them into lineups. And then the Red Sox also 7.1% chance of being the top stack on the board, 5.9% chance of being the top value. So they're a little bit easier to fit into lineups than the Orioles. Do you have any specific batters that you're targeting from either of these teams?
Let's see. I'm kind of intrigued by this guy, Tristan Casas. He's only 2,900 on DraftKings and 2,700 on FanDuel, and he's batting 6. So that definitely looks like a great value play. He's got some good power. He had a 270 ISO over 70 plate appearances last year. And then another name to mention is Masataka Yoshida. He's coming over from Japan, I'm guessing. And he also has some decent power, and he's batting cleanup. So that'd be a guy that would be good to take some chances on.
Okay. Anything else that you want to say about this game before we move on?
This is just one of the better ones for bats.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to want to target some batters from some stacks from Baltimore and Boston, probably in your lineup set here. Both very good stacks. The highest total on the entire slate in this game. So definitely a good one to check out. Also, another thing you should check out is we have a great deal. If you are new to Stokastic, we have an MLB is back offer where you can get 50% off your monthly Stokastic Platinum subscription. That is all sports. It's not just MLB. Get 50% off your monthly Stokastic Platinum subscription. It's available for new and existing customers. So just a great deal that everybody can take advantage of. Click the link in the description of this video or use promo code MLB is back to take advantage. You won't get Pick'em Pro or Bet Pro, but you get all the other MLB tools. Really is a fantastic offer. You get access to the top pitchers tool, top batters tool, top stacks tool, everything that you could possibly want, and it is valid just through April 2nd. So you got to take advantage of it early and often. Not often. I guess you can only take advantage of it once, but highly recommend taking advantage of it. All the tools that we're talking about here, the top stack, top pitcher, top batter, you can get with just get 50% off. MLB is back. All right, Alex, let's move on to the next game, which is Milwaukee at Chicago. We've got Corbin Burns on the mound for the Brewers, Marcus Stroman for the Cubs. Brewers have a 3.9 implied run total, Cubs 3.3, but we'll start on the pitchers. how much interest, if any, do you have in Corbin Burnes or Marcus Stroman?
Well, Corbin Burnes, that's always a name I'm pretty interested in. Cubs are one I guess they have some decent players in their lineup this year, but definitely one of the weaker teams in MLB. And Corbin Burnes is one of the best pitchers, so I like that combo. Chicago, it's only 40 degrees today, so favorable conditions. And then the pitch counts for Corbin Burnes also were pretty solid in spring training. So I think that he's definitely one of the pitchers that might be targeting.
Yeah, Corbin Burnes looking good. And again, you can play these top pitchers because they aren't like 12,000 today. They're all relatively easy to fit in. ABS is everyone on the ATL stack. We've only got them in 13% of people playing ATL stack. So not quite, I mean, fairly chalky, but not quite everyone. Still a pretty nice stack to target there. But back to this Brewers and Cubs game. Yeah, Corbin Burnes just 8,800. Man, the price is just too low. Like we're too condensed in our price tags, I think, on DraftKings today. But how much interest, if any, do you have in Brewers or Cubs stacks?
Let's see. The Cubs stack, I'm kind of crossing off being at home and also facing a good pitcher. Brewers stack, the weather's not ideal, but it looks like they're also like relatively decent priced. They're seventh on the board on DraftKings on the stack score. So they're a team to definitely have a few stacks of.
Yep. Any particular batters that you are targeting from the Brewers or the Cubs?
Okay, so for the Brewers, Garrett Mitchell batting seventh. He's only 2,100. He's a good stolen base guy, and we know the changes in the MLB this year favor guys who can steal some bags. So, if you pick him and also Bryce Turing, who's batting last, that really gives you a ton of stolen base upside, which is intriguing given those changes to the size of the bags.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. They changed the size of the bag, so you think are we gonna see some extra stolen bases this year?
Yeah, they're about 30% more in spring training. But
Wow.
spring training was weird this year because the World Baseball Classic was also going on. So I don't think you can take that number and just be like, oh, they're gonna get 30% more stolen bases, but it's a great sign for guys who have speed.
Yeah, still indicative that we're probably going to see more stolen bases than we have in the past, and that's maybe going to be an equalizing factor a little bit. Like in the past, you get more volatility out of home run hitters. Typically, those are often the players that you want to target are home run hitters. But maybe cash games, I would imagine that makes stolen base guys a little bit more exciting. On base percentage guys, that is fascinating. Definitely going to be something to keep an eye on throughout the year to see if we do see an increase. Anything else you want to talk about from this Brewers and Cubs game?
Uh, Cubs looks like the first three guys are all, or the first few guys are playable in DFS, but uh, the pricing gets a little bit tough after that.
Yep. Makes sense. All right, let's move on and talk about Detroit at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, good and favored here with a run total of 4.4, implied team total for the Rays, 2.9 for the Tigers. We've got Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound for Detroit. Shane McClanahan on the mound for Tampa Bay, just 7,700. How much interest, if any, do you have in Eduardo Rodriguez and Shane McClanahan?
Eduardo Rodriguez, I mean, he's he's not a bad pitcher, but not exactly who you think of as opening day guys. But they just are still rebuilding, so the matchup also is tough as far as strikeouts versus the Rays. So he's playable, but not anyone I want to be getting to a ton. McClanahan at 7,700. I think a lot of people are going to click him because of the price and the fact that he was a great pitcher last year. Spring training, he did go 5 innings with 2 hits and 2 walks. That'd be 19 batters. That's a little bit of a short leash, but I guess he might cap out at He's usually a guy that threw about like 80 pitches last year anyway, kind of similar to all the Rays pitchers. So I just have a little bit of tempered expectations with him compared to some of the guys that might go deeper, but he's a great pitcher and a great matchup.
Okay. How about the bat Smiths? I mean, Rays 4.4 implied team total is about as high as anybody on the board. How much interest do you have in the Rays or either of these teams? What's your level of interest in these stacks?
Yeah, so the Rays, they're kind of in the middle of the pack here, but I feel like they might be a little bit higher owned than I like, just because they're a home team and the team total of 4.3 isn't great. So I'd say they're average stack, not anyone I'm going to prioritize a ton.
Cat's Body Double sent us a super chat, says, looking forward to a great baseball season. You guys, Linquist especially, help me win over $100,000. Love the content, and the tax man loves me too. Yeah, you're gonna get taxed pretty hard on that.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you live in Canada. Maybe move to Canada, no taxes there. You can tax-free winnings.
That doesn't work that way because
it does not work that
you
way.
still have to pay U.S. taxes if you're a U.S. citizen in Canada, unfortunately. But guys like Ricky D, we gotta envy them.
Yeah, Jesse, downside of me, lives in Canada. Man, that's I'm jealous of the lack of taxes there. All right, anything else that you want to talk about from this game? The Rays. Any particular batters that you're targeting here?
No, I think I'm good on the Rays bats. Just projections aren't great and the prices are pretty high, so it's not what I'm holding.
Yep. All right. Well, then let's move on to the Phillies at the Rangers. Aaron Nola versus Jacob deGrom. A little bit of a tough spot for bats here. How much interest do you have in Aaron Nola and or Jacob deGrom?
Jacob deGrom is a guy that we got to be worried about the pitch count with deGrom, given that he was pretty injured last year, and so I looked at the game logs for the spring training. He went 3 2/3 with 4 base runners, so that would be 15 hitters they faced. So this is making me think that he's gonna end up around like 80 pitches max, which is it's enough for him to have a good day, but compared to some of the guys that have a longer leash, I think that it's a little bit tougher to get to the ground.
Does it make you more interested in any stack, seeing that we have pitchers like deGrom who are going to be limited? So like people are going to see Jacob deGrom starting. They're not going to start they're not going to play Phillies bats at all. But like for some of these guys, like we have some studs on the mound who are only going to be out there for 5 innings, probably, maybe not even 5 innings. Does that give you more interest in the opposing bats just because they're likely to be pretty underowned?
Well, it depends on the conditions. I guess it's 70 in Texas today, so it's pretty good hitting conditions. But there's a big risk that deGrom just gives up a 1 run in 5 innings or something, and then you're not going to cash. So it's a good idea. Oh man, the prices on some of the Phillies guys are very high too. So I'm a little bit. I think it's a cool idea, but it's not looking like a great option today.
Okay. Are there any bats you like from this game, Phillies at Rangers?
I think the Texas side is a little bit easier to get to, but still the prices are just too high for facing Aaron Nola, Aaron Nola is also a good option today. He had a 29% strikeout rate last year. The Rangers lineup today, it looks like it's just about average, nothing special. So he's a guy that you could go for at a lower price tag.
Yep. All right. Anything else that you want to talk about from this game period?
Nope.
All right, well then we can move on. Guys, that Bet365 promo that I offered, you're going to want to listen if you are living in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, or Virginia. This is as good of a deal as you're going to find anywhere. Again, if you live in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, or Virginia, only applicable to those 4 states. And if you live close by, maybe you can make your way over too. I don't know if you can drive over, take advantage as well. But bet $1 at Bet365, you can get $200 in bonus bets. That's as good of a, I mean, you just have to risk $1. They're going to give you $200 in bonus bets. You're not going to find that many places ever. So if you live in one of those 4 states, it's the best deal that you're going to find anywhere. Make sure that you take advantage of this Bet365 offer. The link is in the description of this video. Again, a deposit is required. Bonus bet winnings are added to your bonus bets balance. And then you have to play through those bets, of course, to get real money. But that's just an incredible deal. Make sure you take advantage of it while you can. It's not going to last forever. If you, the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 plus. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, though, New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, or Virginia, take advantage of this Bet365 offer while you can. The link is in the description of this video. Alex, next up we have Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. This game has an 8-run implied total. We'll start with the pitchers. Mitch Keller at Hunter Green. How much interest, if any, do you have in Mitch Keller or Hunter Green?
Hunter Green is, I mean, he's coming off a year where he killed it, 31% strikeout rate in his rookie season. So you gotta like that. The one thing I noticed is just he wasn't going very deep in spring training. So my book is I was having a really hard time finding the exact pitch counts for it, but okay, so he went the farthest he went was 5 innings with 2 hits, which is 17 batters. Which that would correspond to about like 70 pitches. So I kind of have him in the 80 to 90 range today, maybe on the lower end. So I'm a little bit worried about how deep he goes in this game. But other than that, I mean, Pittsburgh, their lineup is full of strikeouts and they're not great batters. So I think that Hunter Green's worth taking some chances on today.
And the price tag is only 7,400. I mean, we have those same pitch count restraints for most of the pitchers on the slate, so it makes them, I would say, extra viable on a slate like this, just because the price tag is there. Obviously, you can get some strikeouts in this matchup. Yeah, I like that call. Did you say, do you have any interest in Mitch Keller?
Mitch Keller, not really. He's a below average strikeout pitcher, and the matchup is a little bit tough. So yeah, I'm thinking Mitch Keller is not a great option.
Okay, and what about the bats? So the Pirates have a 3.8 run implied total. Reds at 4.4. Do you have any interest in either of these stacks?
Yeah, I mean the Reds. Let's see, they're third on the board here, so really great values, not incredibly high owned, and I think with that in mind, they're definitely a stack you should be taking shots on. So I mean, you got TJ Friedel second in the order for 3,300 on TK, 2,500 on FanDuel. He's a great value. Jason Vossler batting 5th is only 2,700. So you're really getting great prices on these guys.
Yeah, we're projecting the Reds for 8.7% ownership with a 10.2% chance of being the top value stack on the board, 5.7% chance of being the top scoring stack on the board. So looking very good. And then Pittsburgh, we have at 6.8% ownership, 7% chance of being the top value stack on the board, 5.1% chance of being the top overall stack on the board. So looking kind of interesting in both of these spots. Any specific batters that you like from either of these teams?
It looks like the Pittsburgh side's a little bit expensive, but this guy, Kane Smith, Njigba, he's 2,100 batting 5th. He's a guy that he's only had 7 plate appearances in MLB so far, so looks like he's not exceptional at power or speed, but he's got a little bit of both. So the price is just way too low for his spot in the order.
Yeah, and I'm seeing like towards the top of the top fantasy point scorers list, we have Brian Reynolds with a 7.4% chance. He's up at 5,200. O'Neal Cruz is 5,100 with a 7.3% chance of being the top fantasy scorer on the day. I mean, do you think this is kind of a pay up to be contrarian spot?
Um, let's see. So Pittsburgh, yeah, they're actually fifth on the board for us. So that definitely is looking true because, uh, 5.5 top stack percent on an 11 game slate is above average. So I think that people might not land on them given the price. So it's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to say from this Pittsburgh at Cincinnati game?
Nope.
All right. Next on the board is Blue Jays at Cardinals. We have Alek Manoah on the ground for the Jays, Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals. Start with the pitchers. Any interest in Alek Manoah or Miles Michaelis?
Manoah, he's an average strikeout guy and facing a tough team in the Cardinals, so that's not going to stand out a ton. And then Miles Michaelis, he's the guy that always killed me when I faded him last year because he goes super deep in games sometimes, but he's definitely a below average strikeout guy. So the Blue Jays lineup is formidable. So this just seems like a day to not play pitchers in this game.
Yep. Okay. Larry C asking me, I remember last year you capped your starting pitchers. Like I would sometimes cap across the board my starting pitchers. I am setting today a cap of like 30% on all pitchers. I might up it to 40% just because we have so many pitchers with some constraints, and then a few that are going to look really good because they don't have the pitch count limits or really strict pitch count limits. So maybe I'll up it to about 40% today, Larry, to answer that question. I am debating this year maybe going a little bit more individualized with certain pitchers instead of going like 40%, 30% across the board. I might do that at some point. Probably not doing it today though. Today I think I'll just set a hard cap at probably 30 or 40%. All right, Alex, let's move on to Twins at Royals. Now, this is the game with the highest total on the board. Both teams looking really good from an implied run total. Twins at 5.1, Royals at 4.2. Twins have Pablo Lopez on the mound, Zach Greinke coming back for the Royals. Any interest in Pablo Lopez or Zach Greinke?
Well, Zach Greinke is definitely no. That guy can't get strikeouts anymore. So, Pablo Lopez, he's about average in the strikeout department, but a good pitcher. Facing Kansas City, their lineup is mediocre. So I think that Pablo Lopez is an interesting contrarian option because it looks like his ownership is very low today.
Yeah, what do we have him at? 0.5%, under 1% for Pablo Lopez, and he is a very good pitcher. Yeah, I like that, and he's on the Twins, so I like. Maybe I'll play me some Pablo Lopez.
Nice.
What about the bats from this game? I mean, it is I think it is the highest total on the board. How much interest do you have in Twins or Royal stacks?
So I think the Twins side, they looks like they're the number one stack on our board today. So I think that facing Greinke, that makes a lot of sense. The weather in Kansas City is 70 degrees, which is hot compared to some of these other games. So I think all the metrics are aligning for a twin stack. The one thing I'm seeing with the twin stack is like every single player in the lineup is projected for significant ownership. So it is a little bit tough to really find any way to get a little different with that stack. But it's top stack for a reason.
Maybe you can play them if you do a contrarian secondary stack or one-offs secondarily. Maybe that's the way to play a twin stack.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you're going with the chalkiest stack, then getting a little bit different with the rest of your lineup makes a ton of sense.
Yep, makes sense to me. Anything else that you want to say about Twins or Royals?
Bobby Witt leading off for the Royals. He's a great stolen base guy, so that'd be another guy where you might take a shot just given the changes.
Okay, like that call. Mets at Marlins next game on site. We only have 2 games left, and then we can take some questions. I wanted to leave a little bit of time so we can talk about just like your favorite stacks, favorite pitchers on the board. Give us some time to really go over that. So just a brief game by game, and then we'll take questions, talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. But we have the Mets at the Marlins up next. Max Scherzer on the mound for the Mets. Sandy Alcantara for Miami. How much interest do you have in Scherzer or Alcantara?
Scherzer definitely always a great option. not expecting limitations for him. So, okay, so he's going up against Miami. Their roster is better on the pitchers than the hitters, so they're looking like a pretty average team this year to target for a great pitcher like Scherzer. That is good enough. And Miami, it's 80 degrees, so not great conditions if they have the roof open. But can't remember exactly if I think I saw a notification about it, but anyway, it looks like uh Scherzer's not the best option today, but it's certainly a good option.
Okay. And any interest in Alcantara?
Alcantara, he's in a tougher matchup with a team that doesn't strike out a ton in the Mets and has good other metrics. So it's definitely a down matchup, and he's an average strikeout guy, so he's not really high on the list, but a contrarian option.
Okay. And what about the stacks on the Mets? Have a 3.5 run implied total, Marlins at 3.2. Do you have any interest in either of these stacks?
Even let's see. No, they're just kind of far down the list here. The Mets have a 4% top stack percent, but a 0.5% value percent. So that just shows they're overpriced today. So that is enough for me to look at some other options.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any individual bats in the top batters tool that stand out. I guess Starling Marte has a 6.6% chance of being the top fantasy scorer. And maybe I can ask you this as long as we're on the show. Top FP percentage, that is the top fantasy point scorer overall or just at the position?
I think it's at the position, but I'll have to brush up on that.
Okay, yeah, it says top FP percent chance of scoring the most fantasy points. I thought I remembered it last year being by position, but maybe I'm misremembering there. But either way, pretty good chance for Starling Marte to be the one of the highest scoring players on the board. Nobody else really standing out from a top batters perspective, just looking at the top batters tool. So yeah, not maybe the best place to target. Anything else you want to say about this Mets at Marlins game?
Nope.
And then finally, I think this is a pretty interesting spot because, again, they moved the game to late at night because there were weather issues. Now we don't really have those weather issues with Rockies at the Padres. We've got German Marquez going for Colorado, Blake Snell for San Diego. Any interest in Marquez or Blake Snell?
Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to figure out where this game is. Okay. Blake Snell, he's always interesting. With the pitch counts in the spring training, let me pull those up real quick. He is someone that has a reputation for not being like particularly efficient with his pitches, and his he did go 6 innings in his last spring training game, with 4 base runners, so that would be 22 batters. So that makes you pretty confident in Blake Snell's pitch count today. And the Rockies seem to perennially be a underwhelming offense. So it looks like they got Chris Bryant and Charlie Blackmon, but besides that, no one particularly good. CJ Cron, I guess. But yeah, I think Snell is a pretty solid option.
Yeah, often. I mean, the Rockies always going to have inflated states because they play half their games at Coors, but then when they're on the road, they're always a little bit weak out there. They're never a great team on the road. Let's talk about the batters, though. I mean, we've got the Padres, one of the best lineups in all of baseball. You'd prefer them in Coors Field, of course, but they're home in San Diego. How much interest do you have in either of these stacks?
San Diego usually is one of the better weather spots this time of year, but today is an exception. It's only 54 degrees in San Diego, so quite low for this time of year. But I mean, they got a very talented lineup. It just seems like the prices might be too high today. And then one exception, Trent Grisham may I see he's first in our projected lineup, but he's only 2,500, so that's pretty intriguing. but then it's like if if he gets moved down the order, you really have nothing you can do about that. So um, I think they're okay, but um, one of the things I'd be a little bit worried about is just the lineup comes out a little different than we're anticipating, and then there aren't any good swaps. So it's a problem with this game that starts so much later than all the others.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think it'll go a little bit under-owned for that reason, though? Or do you think people are going to be like, I want to save spots for that last game because it's going to be the only game on at the time?
That is an interesting motivation for
I mean, I
doing
swear
that.
people do it.
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fact the lineup's not confirmed, like given the sites kind of boldly display that, it's going to work against them as far as ownership. So I think they'll probably be under-owned, but it's also like slightly risky.
Okay. I just saw a question in chat about why do some players have their picture crossed out in DraftKings? Where was this question? Yeah. How come some players like Julio Rodriguez have a red line through their picture on DraftKings? I assume he's just talking about players who are not starting. Is that
Oh yeah. I was like, I was having trouble figuring that one out, but that makes a
okay?
ton of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just do that for players who are not in the starting lineup. As we get lineups, they show you who is expected to start in those lineups. Hopefully, I don't have any of those. I ran a set of lineups before we started today, and I have not updated since then. So we've got some new lineups. Maybe I'll need to update some. But yeah, that is, I believe, the answer to your question. All right. Anything else that you want to say about Rockies at Padres? Any individual bats you want to talk about?
Um, the Rockies look like a good fade. They're like kind of priced up today, which is weird. But yeah, I think uh the Padres are a reasonable option, nothing special.
Uh, Arcathels is back. Asks any Soto love, any Juan Soto love for you?
I mean, he's a killer player for sure. And lefty righty matchup today. Um, it's hard to argue against Soto, but yeah, I'm not really targeting a ton of like I like targeting the low priced one offs more than the high priced one offs because when you go for like a guy like Juan Soto, usually if he's a one off, you're fading a player on one of your stacks that could go in that position. So uh that usually hurts you with the correlation as much as it helps you with the projection.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. All right. So, Alex, we have left ourselves plenty of time to answer questions and, of course, just go over who some of our favorites are. Let's start with talking about some pitchers. And if you guys have any specific questions you want answered about specific stacks or pitchers, anything you want to ask, we are, of course, we've got some time to answer those questions. But I wanted to leave some time just to talk about your favorites, just kind of like ranking. So let's start with the pitchers. I mean, we talked about we're willing to eat some chalk at the pitcher position. Generally, it's a lower variance spot than batters because they have so many more opportunities to put up fantasy points, whereas batters only have 4 or 5 opportunities per game typically. So pitcher generally lower variance. You see a lot of pros eating a lot of chalk. But Alex, let's talk about who those pitchers are that you are targeting, even if they are a little bit chalky. Who do you like? Like, tell me. Let's rank like your top 5 or 6 favorite pitchers on the board.
Yeah, I think Cole, Burns, and McClanahan kind of stand out as the top tier. Um, Jacob deGrom is kind of a fade because of the innings concerns. And then at the lower, the kind of next tier includes Hunter Green, where it's kind of a question mark, but the price compensates you for that. So I think he's a good option. Snell is kind of in that range. So I think those would be probably the pitchers I want to focus on today. How about you?
Yeah, I think that I'm focusing on the top projected pitchers as well. Love that call. Garrett Cole at 9,000 absolutely looks just too cheap for me versus San Francisco. He's going to be a big part of my builds. Corbin Burns, of course, going to be up there as well. Always love playing some Max Scherzer. I do like Hunter Green as kind of a value option. Really like Shane McClanahan against Detroit at 7,700. He's just too good for that price tag. Of course, coming in at 32% ownership as well. Let's talk just a little bit about the top pitchers tool and how you use it. So, you know, you can see we've got leverage scores on every pitcher and it's based on their ownership versus their top two values. So sometimes I'm looking at this, I see Shane McClanahan. We've got him 14.2% chance of being the top two value on the board, 13.1% chance of being top two overall on the board, but then 32% ownership. So he has the most negative leverage on the entire slate, negative 18.6%. And in some sports, I would say that really scares me off players a little bit more. Is that true for you too? Like, do you see that negative 18.6% on Shane McClanahan and just say, I'm not going to play him today, I'm going to try to be under the field? Or do you just say, I'm okay with the negative leverage there, I'm still willing to play some Shane McClanahan, and maybe I'll get different elsewhere?
Oh yeah, I think he's definitely someone I'm willing to play, even though he's high owned. I mean, you mentioned around 30% ownership. That's like it's high, but for a pitcher, like it's kind of a binary result. Either they do good or they don't. Like it, maybe that's reductive to say, but um, he's favored to win the game 2-1, or his team is, and then like of those 2 out of 3 times, like how many times does he have a good fantasy performance? Like probably most of them. So I think that he's it like once you work out I think the odds that you get a score you're satisfied with McClanahan are like at least as high as the ownership.
Okay, so you're less concerned about having just the top two pitchers on the board. You just want a player who puts up a good enough score. Like, do you think that's kind of it's you're willing to play him, even though maybe the top two value odds aren't as good, but like if he puts up 20 fantasy points and there are 4 pitchers ahead of him who have 22 to 24, that might be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could win with that if you get all the other things right. So, like when you whiff on your stack, like there's almost 0%
Yeah.
chance that you're gonna win. But if you have a pitcher that just scores a projection and nothing more, that you still got a chance to win. So I think that's why like the leverage isn't quite as important.
Yep. Yeah. Because a pitcher is just one player. The stack is like, he could put up 20. You could get 20 out of like, I mean, it'd be rare, but like 20 out of each position in your stack. Just the stack is going to account for so many more points than the pitcher does with just one player versus 5 or 3 or however many you have in your stack. So it's more okay in baseball in particular, more than like any other sport. I mean, you don't really need the optimal in all that many sports or spots, but like baseball, the optimal lineup is going to be 60 points more than whatever the winning lineup is in a GPP. Generally, it's going to be way more because it's going to be a bunch of one-offs, and it's very different. You're not necessarily needing the optimal lineup in baseball, so it's a little bit more okay to eat some of that negative leverage and just hope for a little bit of safety from your pitchers. Let's see if there's any. Do I have any other questions that I want to ask you about the top pitcher stool? I think that covers my biggest top pitchers question. So we've talked about your favorite pitchers on the board. We've talked about the top pitchers tool. Do you have anything off the top of your head that you think you want to mention about the top pitchers tool, or should we talk a little bit about the top stacks tool?
So I think I had something I was going to say, but I lost it here. So let's just move on to the top stacks.
All right. Well, we can get back to it if we want to. I saw somebody ask earlier, what is a typical winning score in an MLB GPP on an 11-game slate? And I'm trying to remember. Like, I feel like it's like probably 180 or so, or do you think is it higher than that on average?
Yeah, I think on average 180 is about the ballpark, 200 on DK, like 180 about. And then on FanDuel, like about 250 to 300, I think.
Yeah, FanDuel, the variance is pretty wide there.
The thing is like this is applicable in all sports, but especially baseball. But it's like if the chalk hits in baseball, like the winning score is going to be like crazy high. Like, but like the winning score of the chalk bus could be like 180 or 170 or something. So that's why like projection is not the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely. TTID forever asks, do we worry about McClanahan only pitching 6 innings? I mean, 6 innings is, I would say, I think that's above average on this slate as far as like pitch. I mean, yes, it is a concern that he's going to be limited as far as how much he's pitching, but that's a concern for most pitchers on this slate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, it's like the 6 innings is definitely enough to get 30 plus points. So like that in itself isn't particularly concerning. Tampa does have a reputation for pulling their starters rather early, so that's going to be a factor with McClanahan every day. But like you saw last year, he like had numerous killer performances. So like versus Detroit in March, like it's pretty ideal.
Yep. Terry McBride says there's an outside now. He's responding to somebody. There's not an outside here in Minnesota. It's still cold and snowy and not nice out. I had seen a 50-degree day coming on Sunday, and now they've moved that back to like 46. It's rainy here. It's off. Do you have nice weather now in Chicago, Alex?
Not most days. So I think it's 40 degrees today, which it's better than some opening days for the Cubs. So I guess
Yeah,
people can't be too upset about that.
yeah, true. Terry McBride says, yeah, 6 full innings and a quality start from McClanahan would be outstanding. Yeah, we would take that all day. Terry, by the way, will be on this show with me tomorrow. We're going to be doing live before lock tomorrow. I don't know if it's actually lock or if it's a strategy show tomorrow, but tomorrow morning, Terry and I will be going over the slate. So looking forward to that one as well. All right, Alex, let's talk about top stacks. Like just who are your favorite stacks on the board today?
Atlanta definitely is one of the top ones. They're going to be chalky, but they're priced well, and they also have a great projection. So I think I'm willing to eat the chalk there. And then let me flip the board again. Come back to me in a sec. Who are your top stacks?
I mean, obviously the Twins. You got to throw the Twins in there. They are 12.3% chance of being the top stack on the board, 14% chance of being the top value stack on the board, and they happen to be my favorite team. So I'll go with the Twins against Zach Greinke is going to be my top stack on the board. I'm with you on Atlanta. And just I'm reading through the top stacks tool, and it's like exactly all of my favorite stacks. Obviously, the Baltimore Boston game. I think both of those stacks look fantastic. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's any other kind of unique stacks that I really like here. Might play some Yankees just because it's a strong lineup. Only 4% chance of being the top stack on the board, but I feel like the Yankees have some opportunity to put up a huge score here. So I think they're sort of interesting. For the most part, I think I might go to some San Diego also. I guess they are they are actually 5th on our board, so not getting all that unique in terms of looking at the top stack. So they have a 5.9% chance of being the top stack on the board. I'm at least a little bit hopeful that people are going to be scared off by the weather and the change of time, and I don't think that the weather is a huge concern at this point. So kind of have some interest in going to San Diego. We do have them projected for 6.6% ownership with a 5.9% chance of being the top stack. So actually a little bit of negative leverage there, but I think I'm willing to eat that with San Diego just because it's a really strong lineup. Yeah, I'd say those are some that I have the most interest in.
Nice. Yeah, I think you kind of called them all out here. So this isn't a day where I'm really going off the board a ton, I don't think, because like the ownership's pretty spread out among a lot of different stacks. So there's no one stack that's like coming in super overowned.
Yeah, we're actually very spread out in this game. Mr. Farts asks, when will MLB Bet Pro be available? I think that's a good question. Do you have any idea when Bet Pro for MLB will be available?
I know we're working through some issues with that, but I'm also excited. I'm sure it'll be within the next couple hours if we haven't figured it out already. But yeah, the strikeout props, like we were making a killing with those last year, so excited to just jump right back into those.
Nice. Do you need me to go on like I'm not very good at like going on long soliloquies. We got to get Terry on the show because I know you are building a bunch of lineups right now. We've got 5 minutes to lock. How are you looking?
Yeah, it's coming down to the wire here. So hopefully like I'm in the same boat as a lot of you guys who are finishing up your lineups here, but it's always tough to get the perfect lineups in by the deadline.
If anybody's going to do it, Alex Baker's going to do it. Yeah, I need to run a new lineup set here, but I just accept that when I'm hosting a show, I'm probably not going to get in exactly the lineups that I would like to do. I'm not doing a ton of really pinching down to the the optimals in terms of top stacks and stuff. I'm not really going through team by team, just setting a hard cap on all teams in terms of stacking, which sometimes I do even when I do have full time. So it's not a huge concern for me to be doing that. But I'm going to be creating, stacks. Are you running exclusively 5-3s today, or are you doing a mix of different lineup constructions?
I'm always trying to do a mix. There's like a lot of good reasons why you might want to not go 5-3 and go 4-3 or 4-4 or whatever it may be. But like the biggest reason would be if like the stacks just don't fit great together and you need a little bit of salary relief to make it work with pitchers, in which case it is totally reasonable to go to a one-off that's really cheap. So I think that's probably the kind of reason I wanna to go to a player that's not in my stack more than it being a really good player.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I last year I ran mostly 5-2s, and that's what I had run the year prior as well. I'm actually thinking about switching it up a little bit more this year, not doing like just 5-2s, maybe even day to day, like within certain days, doing, as you talk about, doing a mix of different lineups. And one thing that I haven't really done in the past is differentiating between different teams. Like there are teams that might look better as far as like 5-man stacks versus teams that look better that they just have like 4 batters who look really strong. Is that a factor for you? Like, are there certain teams where you just want to do, you don't see 5 batters that you really want to play, and other teams that do see 5-6 batters that you want to play? Obviously you can't play 6. Is that a big factor for you, like team to team, deciding who you want to play depending on the actual personnel of that team?
Well, I think that like the big instance that would come up is in a stack that's just kind of like contrarian and off the board.
Yep.
And I feel like you're really trying to bank on the correlation, like taking you all the way because you're not getting good like projections out of these guys. So that'd be one case where I probably would want to like take the player I don't like from that same stack instead of going to like a better player. But it's always a tough balance.
For sure. Well, guys, while Alex is, I don't have any more reads to do, so I'm going to let Alex set his lineup, spend a little bit more time on his lineups as he wants. So I did just get a lineup set in there, but I want to say that so I'm going to be doing daily shows. It's going to be an MLB strategy show at this time, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. The only day I'm going to have off is Sunday. So 6 days a week, I will be doing an MLB strategy show where I'm just going to be by myself, self-producing a show. I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, I've never done a solo live show, and now I'm going to be doing them every day, taking questions and also just showing you exactly how I use the tool. So I'm going to be going through the top stacks tool every day, the top pitchers tool, talking about exactly how I'm using them for that day, how things might change on like a short slate. There are going to be 3-4 game slates where I'm going to be maybe allowing for some batters against my pitcher, some slates where I maybe don't want a full 5-man stack, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really looking forward to just showing you the tools. And I've been given permission on these shows to just show you the tools, exactly what we have going on. And some days, of course, it's going to be more useful than others. Days where we have early start times, the tools are going to be pretty close to where they're going to end up as well. So really looking forward to doing some solo shows for you guys on the Stochastic YouTube channel, just showing the tools, showing how I'm using them, showing my fantasy cruncher. We can even look at individual bats in the top batters tool this year. That's going to be helpful for me as somebody who isn't as good at knowing individual batters because I'm always stacking. That is going to be useful. And if you have questions about whether you want to play specific batters, really looking forward to doing that. Yeah, as Larry C says, I did do showdown shows, although that was obviously pre-recorded. This is going to be live solo show, so we can talk, just have a good time. Looking forward to do that. You get your lineups in, Alex?
I did, yeah. So I'm getting a lot of Minnesota and a lot of Atlanta I'm looking at. So I'm on Minnesota with you here. What do you end up with?
Yeah, what did I end up with? Sorry, because I'm on the show, like as I said, I don't necessarily always get to exactly where I want to be, but let me take a look at my I just had to refresh because we got a new lineup as well. So give me 1 second and I'll tell you exactly where I ended up.
One guy I'm a little bit higher than I thought is DeGrom. I feel really iffy about it still, but it's just like too late to go back and change it.
I mean, DeGrom also, I think he has a pitch count of what, like 70 today? It was 70
Oh, is
pitchers.
it?
How many strikeouts do you think DeGrom could get to? I mean,
Well, I
that's,
guess you could get like what's 70 divided by 3?
yeah, that's exactly 23. I mean,
Yeah,
that's I
that'd
take
be
that
the
from DeGrom.
record.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's probably unlikely, but on this slate, so I got to a good amount of DeGrom as well. I've got 30% DeGrom, Cole, Scherzer, like Snell, Corbin Burns. That's where I ended up setting my cap was 30%. Didn't end up changing that. But as far as top stacks, who did I get the most of? I got to 10% Atlanta, Minnesota. Those are my highest owned stacks. I'm eating the chalk a little bit today, I guess, which probably
Nice.
isn't. Do you think it's a bad idea to eat the chalk on opening day? Like I feel like this is a day where like we know the least relative to later in the season. It might not be a good idea to eat the chalk, but because I'm hosting the show, that is what I ended up doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reflected a little bit in the Vegas lines, like kind of uncertainty, and there are some things we're sure about, like there's some stadiums that are a lot better for bats than others today, so that's always
Yeah.
something we can bake on. Like Kansas City is going to be a lot warmer than like Boston today, for instance. So it's like that. I'm seeing like the highest over under today is like 8.7, which is that Kansas City Minnesota game, which is kind of wild. I
Yeah.
mean, like a few years ago, that was just like the average line, over under.
Wait, somebody in chat saying Jake Fraley home run. Did I
Already.
already? Is
Damn.
that possible? No, we don't have any. At least I don't think so. I think that. Oh, he's calling. He's calling a dong shot. Do you
Okay.
have any dong shots, Alex? And anybody that you want to say is going to hit a home run today?
Jake Fraley, I guess.
Jake Fraley, I like that.
I'm gonna tail it.
Yeah, I like that. We can tail the Fraley bet. Yeah, we don't see. I know. Oh, wait. So we do have something happen. Somebody scored. Oh, it looks like we got a score from Ronald Acuna. Looks like he had
He scored.
solo. Sorry, a single is what I'm trying to say. Just a single for not a
All
solo
right.
shot, just a single for Ronald
Let's
Acuna. Don't get too excited here.
he's got some base stealing speed, so let's see if these new changes to MLB come into
Hell
play.
yeah, yeah. I'm in for it. Let's go steal a base Ronald Acuna. How much should I get of Acuna? That's I mean, I've got a good amount of. Yeah, I got 20% Acuna. I set my
Nice.
cap at 20% for bats today. So what's he? I bet his ownership is pretty high. Yeah, 26% ownership. Not too crazy. I don't mind that. Okay,
Nice.
Terry says he's calling Carlos Santana for the home run. Interesting. He said Austin Riley was his earlier pick, but that game locked. Okay, yeah, it's I mean, Acuna double dong, Ryan Reenbaum says, it seems less likely now that he already has one at bat down. Now he's probably got three more. You're calling 2 home runs in his last 3 at bats. Maybe 4. It is the Braves. They could put up a good number of, and he's leadoff hitter. Maybe five at bats is reasonable for Acuna.
I feel like a Otani dong on the evening slate just to tell everyone that you can't play him at hitter today.
Yeah. Do you think that's ever going to change? Are we ever going to get Otani, in both, like just play him and he's going to get points for both positions?
Dude, I remember like Yahoo used to have both games on the double header and you could play the same player in either the early or night game. So like I feel like if anyone's gonna figure it out, it would be Yahoo.
Yeah, for sure. Michael Mass asks, how can you set caps for bats and pitching separately? So in advanced options, you can set one cap for all players, but then on the main screen, you can, towards the top, there's a tab for pitchers and a tab for hitters. You just go to that tab and there's an exposure column there. You go into that, you can edit the exposure cap for, just go to the pitchers column or the hitters column is how you do that. You can ask these questions when I'm doing my solo show, and I can show you starting on Saturday. I can show you exactly how I do this in Fantasy Cruncher. But yeah, not too tough. Arcathels is back, says Paredes dong. That game we've only had 2 games start so far, right? Yeah. So are you thinking about getting rid of your DeGrom exposure, or are you just gonna keep it?
I'm just
You're just gonna
gonna
keep it.
roll with it. But
All right.
one of the changes this year is the pitch clock. Do you think that's gonna have any
I don't
impacts
know.
on DFS?
Yeah, it's really hard to know. Like maybe there are pitchers who are typically slower and they're going to struggle with it more. Maybe it just like opens up the variance more because we don't really know which pitchers are going to struggle with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, or I don't know what impact do you see it having?
I guess it could like it can negatively impact the hitter or batter, or
True.
sorry, hitter or pitcher, like because they give out strikes and stuff or balls. So that could be very tilting. That'll be the main impact, I think.
Yeah, that's I agree.
Oh,
That's
Acuna got a stolen base.
did he really? Somebody
Yeah.
said that somebody had just said that he tripped as he was trying to run and had to go back. All right, we'll take that. We'll take that. I mean, I'm underway to the field, so I guess I'm not excited about that. I only have
Shit.
20% Acuna, and the field has 26. How much Acuna did you end up with?
Like 30, so just a little bit more than average.
Typical chalk donkey Alex.
I know, yeah. MLB, it's like being a chalk donkey is great.
Yeah. I would say, oh wait, they're taking points away from. Oh no, never mind. That's because I have Garrett Cole. So Garrett Cole just gave
Okay.
up a walk. Okay, whatever. I was like, why?
A walk.
How did
Damn.
Acuna lose points? Okay, Garrett Cole walk. Interesting. 4-pitch walk. Trey Mako says, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Although, how high owned is he?
33%.
All right, so I'm actually underweight to the field on Garrett Cole.
Nice.
All right. I didn't play that many. I didn't play on FanDuel at all today. Only played on DraftKings. Just have, I think, 40 lineups across 2 different contests on DraftKings. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Michael Mass says I will definitely see you Saturday. That's good to hear. I'm actually really looking forward to doing a solo show. I enjoy hosting with Alex and Terry and these great players, but it'll be a different kind of feel doing a solo show. Just being able to show the tools and not have to talk about what I'm looking at. I can actually show you what I'm looking at. It's going to be kind of fun. Just like I do a showdown, as was said earlier.
Looking forward to checking those out.
Yeah, MJ heading Brave Stacks 30% owned. Yeah, they're fairly high there.
Yeah. It was pretty comparable to the ownership projections though, so
yeah, that is true.
What expected.
Yep, exactly. I have one question for you about the top stack tool, and it's hard to like really discuss. So do you think that the top stacks tool affects ownership at all? So that's one concern I have with so I think it's the best tool in the business. I've used it with a lot of success in the past, and I see all of our guys doing so. Do you think you have to factor that into like with the teams that look the best in terms of leverage in the top stacks tool? Like if we have a team that's coming in, 4% projected ownership with an 8% chance of being the top stack, or days where it is like a big difference between ownership and top stack odds, do you think that it actually moves the market enough that maybe you need to factor in, okay, because there's nothing you can do about that, right? In the tools, you can't say like, we're going to post this and then the ownership's going to go up. There's nothing you can do about it. Do you try to factor that in at all in your decision making? Like, okay, this team's probably going to get a little bit more steamed because we're moving the market.
I mean, certainly a reasonable thing to try to account for. I guess we gotta get next level and start factoring.
No, though, that's the thing. DFS gets tougher every single year. I felt like last year it did move the market. Like 2 years ago, absolutely crushed using the top stack tool. Last year, obviously the top stack odds doesn't change, but like the ownership can change if everybody's looking at the same tools, which I think a lot of people are, because I think a lot of people caught on that this is a really great tool. And now I'm like, maybe just for like 2 teams a day or something that looked a little bit too good, you got to think, well, maybe they're going to get more ownership than we're projecting. Just wanted to see your game theory thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we're going to be doing, I think, sometime sooner rather than later, is the optimal percent for stacks. So
nice.
Maybe that will be another data point that we can look at, that people are trying to always hit the optimal stack, and that'll be pretty cool.
Nice. Well, we're right at the end of the show, but Larry C, I just want to ask you this question. Larry C asks, how is the leverage calculated on top stack tool? Is it a blend of top stack and value?
It is, yeah. So I think it's like 3/4 top stack, 1/4 value, or something like that. I think it says on the page, but we just did that because it better reflected what the best stacks were.
Okay, perfect. Well, Alex, we are at the end of the show now. We're right at 1:15 Eastern, 12:15 Real America time. So we're gonna have to close out the show. But do you have any final thoughts for everybody?
No, just I think it's gonna be a great season. One thing, we have a great strategy guide on Stochastic for MLB, so make sure to check that out if you're looking to really up your game this season. And what better time than now, because you got 6 months of MLB to bring some tourneys.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Well, we have plenty more shows today that you can check out. Josh Gillum says Ozzy Albies out. Okay, bummer. NHL strategy show coming up with Josh and Cliffy in a little while. Then we've got, of course, the Odd Shop is every day on the Odd Shopper channel. So it's not on this channel. You got to check out the Odd Shopper channel. Make sure you subscribe to that one as well. And then, of course, we've got NBA Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock tonight. I'll be on Live Before Lock tonight. We had a schedule change, just a 2-game slate for NBA, but will still be a good time talking about that NBA slate. So check that out as well. That's going to do it for us today. Good luck today, everybody.